Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking about what is up with scarification. Ariana suggested we do this topic, so thank you so much, Ariana. As always, you guys should feel free to comment any future video topics that you would like me to discuss. So let's jump into scarification. First things first, let's talk about what is scarification. Scarification is a type of body modification that affects the texture of the skin by purposefully creating a scar. These scars are achieved by either cutting or burning the area, and it's usually in a pattern design, but the scars can really be anything from single dots or lines to really intricate designs on the skin. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly where and when scarification first began, because it's an ancient practice that was done by many different cultures around the world. But what we do know is that scarification is an indigenous practice that has roots in West African history. Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and Congo are said to traditionally be important centers for ritual scarification. Traditional African masks and wood carvings are frequently seen with tribal-specific symbols, usually on the face, and these are similar to the patterns that we see in some of those ritual scarification practices. There are many theories as to why indigenous groups chose to do scarification, and I'll briefly touch on a few of those now. The first theory is hardening, and this is based on the belief that any physical and emotional stress exerted on young children will allow the individual to withstand strain, both physical and mental, later in their lives. The next is to do with rites of passage. Rites of passage accompany the transformation and progression from one developmental phase to another. Scarification in or after puberty signifies initiation into the adult tribal community. The next one I'll touch on is the Hamilton-Zook hypothesis, according to which individuals choose sexual partners by characteristics which signify resistance against infectious pathogens, in particular against parasites. Scarification thus demonstrates health and attractiveness to potential sexual partners. It's important to note that not all forms of traditional scarification can be assigned to one of these theories. Other reasons could be purely aesthetic or for medical purposes. If you guys saw my tattoo world record video, you might remember Otzi the Iceman, who has the oldest tattoos that we know of. His tattoos are really similar to scarification, and it's thought that he got those to help his joint problems. Some tribes would use scars to ward off spirits, identify themselves, and to symbolize spirituality or ideas of reincarnation. An example of an indigenous scarification process can be illustrated by the ritual scarification of a Surma woman in Omo Delta in southwestern Ethiopia. What's pretty interesting about this specific practice is that there's no marking or painting of the skin before they start the scarification process. How they do it is they get a hook or a thorn to raise the skin, and then that is cut with a blade repeatedly to form a pattern. This process reportedly can take up to many hours to complete, and during the ritual, the wounds are intentionally further irritated by using unsterile water along with mud and ash in order to further the effects of the scarring on the skin. In this ritual, the formation of keloid scars is desired. Keloid scars are scars that are raised, and these type of scars are seen as aesthetic. They emphasize femininity and increase social prestige. I think the history of scarification and tattooing in general is so interesting to learn about culturally. The history of these practices is just so rich and diverse and has been going on for so long. It's hard to even imagine how long people have been doing this. It really makes you think about how the world works today when people of color from these indigenous communities essentially invented tattooing, and they invented scarification, but there are white tattooers out there who still refuse to tattoo clients with darker skin tones. Make it make sense. So jumping forward to today, scarification has become a lot more popular in the Western world in the last few years. According to Victoria Pitts, who is a professor of sociology at the City University of New York in New York City, she says, In the US, scarification emerged in San Francisco as a part of a new body modification movement in the mid-1980s. By the early 1990s, members of a neo-tribal or modern primitive movement began using scarification. That movement was interested in reviving or reenacting indigenous body rituals from around the world, trying to get in touch with a more authentic or spiritual experience of the body. And over the past 7 or 8 years, scarification has become widespread in the US, Australia, and across Europe. Today, artists will clean the area and put a stencil on before they cut or use heat on the skin. I've not personally got this done, but I have read that this is a pretty painful experience, and it's definitely on more of the extreme side of body modification. Scarification is performed on the same layer of skin that tattooing is, so that is called the dermis, which is right below the epidermis. According to Blair McLean, a body modification artist who has practiced scarification for over 20 years, he says, "All scars will lighten and become closer to your natural skin tone. Unlike a tattoo, healed scars will always vary in appearance. Some heal flat and some heal raised." If you watch my video on white ink tattoos, you'll know that scarification and white ink tattoos are kind of similar in the way that they heal and look on the client's skin tone. It fades into kind of like a very subtle design, something that's similar to your skin tone, but not exactly the same. Body modification artist Ryan Olette, who owns Precision Body Arts in New Hampshire, commented that it can take anywhere from 15 minutes to up to 8 hours to do a scarification depending on the client and what they want. Scarification also usually takes quite a while to heal, and it's said that it can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months to fully heal. Here's one example of some modern scarification that I found actually on the scarification Wikipedia page, and it is this equation on this woman's entire upper back. Not that there's anything wrong with getting an equation on your back in scarification, but it just shows you how far this practice has come, and it's just really interesting to see the progression of these things over time. If anyone knows like the significance of this equation, I would love to know in the comments down below. I don't know anything about this equation, so if you guys know, definitely let me know because it's huge on her back. It must be important. Here are some more examples of modern scarification done by @Maritaw W on Instagram. Maritaw pierces and does scarification in Oslo in Norway. This one, for example, is a rune scarification, which I believe is a Scandinavian symbol. Next, we have a design on this person's spine, and this one is healed 9 months so far. So you can see it still isn't fully healed, even at 9 months, but the texture and the design, I think it looks really nice, especially for this part of the body. This next one is WEH, and this one is healed 8 months. It looks like it is further along than that back scarification that we saw. So that shows you just how different these things heal depending on your individual skin type. So you can see that the scarification that Maritaw does is really delicate designs and patterns, really intricate designs as well. Like for example, this one on this individual's chest area is fully healed. It's definitely a subtle and delicate final product. Maritaw also did this kind of geometric design on someone's chest area, and this one is 8 months into healing, and you can see that this one is also healed quite well. I was also able to find an image of this geometric pattern scarification only 1 month into healing, and this individual's skin seems like it heals really well. So you can see the progress of that over time, but I think this one looks really good. There are a variety of reasons why people choose to get scarification nowadays. Like I said, it's definitely something that is more on the extreme side and is popular with people who do heavy body modification. Vice magazine interviewed Beto, who is a body modification artist from Mexico who also has facial scarification on his own face, and he is quoted to say, "Since I was a kid, I've always been interested in ritualistic scarification in Mayan and Aztec cultures, when scarifications were just for warriors." When he's talking about his own scarification, he says, "My mom has a scar on her face due to an accident, and it was a way to show her how scars both accidental and intentional, can be beautiful. They are signs and marks of the battle you've won in life. So I thought that quote was a really nice way to wrap up this video, show some of the reasons why people are getting scarification today, as well as some of the rich history behind this practice. But I really want to know what you guys think about scarification. Please leave me a comment down below letting me know, is this something that you would be interested in getting done? Is it maybe too extreme for you? Do you like the way it looks? I personally like the way it looks, but I don't think that I would go through with getting scarification. I already think tattoos are too painful, so I don't know that this one is up my alley, but I do think some of the designs are really beautiful. But that's going to be it for me today. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you have, leave me this emoji in the comments so that I know that you are a real one. Bye guys.